Picture this. It's 1808, and the entire Chinese naval fleet, backed by British and Portuguese warships, sets a trap for the most notorious pirate in the South China Sea. They outnumber their target 2-1. Victory seems certain. But when the smoke clears, half the imperial fleet lies in burning ruins. And the pirates sail home victorious with captured government warships in tow. Welcome back to Whispered Chronicles, echoes of forgotten lore, where we breathe life back into the legend's history left in the shadows. The commander they failed to defeat was a woman, a former prostitute who rose to command 1,800 ships and 80,000 pirates, a queen who ruled the seas so completely that 3 empires could not bring her down. Her name was Zheng Yi Sao. And this is the story history tried to forget. The early years. The year was 1775, while the American Revolution was brewing across the Pacific. In China's Guangdong province, a girl was born into crushing poverty. Her name was Xiang, though history would know her by many other names. At just 13 years old, Xiang was forced into sex work on a floating brothel, what the Chinese called a flower boat, to help her family survive. But here's where our story diverges from tragedy into legend. While most would see only despair in such circumstances, Xiang saw opportunity. She wasn't just surviving, she was studying. She observed the merchants, the politicians, the powerful men who frequented the flower boats. She learned their secrets. She mastered the art of negotiation, of reading people, of wielding information like a weapon. Her beauty caught attention, but her intelligence, her razor-sharp business acumen, that's what made her unforgettable. Like the marriage proposal. By 1801, at age 26, Xiang had built quite a reputation in Guangzhou's underworld. She was known as shrewd, calculating, and utterly fearless. She caught the eye of someone extraordinary, Zheng Yi, one of the most powerful pirate lords in South China. Zheng Yi came from a family of pirates whose roots stretched back to the Ming Dynasty. He'd fought as a privateer in Vietnam's Tay Sen Wars. And he'd just accomplished something remarkable. He'd begun uniting the fractured, warring pirate clans of Guangdong into a single confederation. This man commanded hundreds of ships and thousands of men. But here's the twist that tells you everything about Xiang. When Zheng Yi proposed marriage, she didn't just say yes, she negotiated. According to historical accounts, Xiang demanded equal partnership. She wanted half the control of the pirate fleet, half the share of all plunder, and an equal voice in all major decisions. Think about that for a moment. A woman working in a brothel, negotiating terms with one of the most powerful warlords in China, and winning. Zheng Yi agreed. From that moment, Xiang became Zheng Yi Sao, literally wife of Zheng Yi. But this was no ordinary marriage. Together, the husband and wife team transformed Chinese piracy. While Zheng Yi was the unifier and patriarch, Zheng Yi Sao was the consolidator and organizer. He brought the pirate clans together through force and charisma. She made sure they stayed together through structure and strategy. By 1805, they commanded what became known as the Red Flag Fleet, the largest and most powerful of 6 color-coded pirate squadrons. Under their joint leadership, the Confederation grew to approximately 600 ships and between 40,000 and 60,000 pirates. They made Lantau Island in Hong Kong their base of operations, and from there they controlled the South China Sea from Hong Kong to Vietnam. Every merchant ship paid tribute. Fishing villages paid protection money. It wasn't just piracy. It was a vast criminal empire with the organizational sophistication of a legitimate government. And Zheng Yi Sao was handling the administration. They had 2 sons together, Zheng Yingxi, born in 1803, and Zheng Zhongxi, born in 1807. They also adopted a young man named Chung Po Sai, whom Zheng Yi had kidnapped years earlier and trained in the pirate life. This adoption would prove crucial to what came next, because in November 1807, everything changed. Zheng Yi died, either in a typhoon or killed in action against the Vietnamese. Sources differ. He was only 39 or 42 years old, depending on which account you believe. Most women in Zheng Yi Sao's position would have been pushed aside. The male pirate captains would have seized power. The confederation would have fractured back into warring clans. But Zheng Yi Sao was not most women. What happened next was a masterclass in political maneuvering. Within days of her husband's death, Zheng Yi Sao made her move. First, she formed an alliance with Cheng Po Sai, her husband's adopted son and protege. Cheng Po was young, capable, and most importantly, he commanded the loyalty of many of the Red Flag Fleet's pirates. But Zheng Yi Sao didn't just partner with him, she entered into an intimate relationship with him. This was brilliant strategy. It legitimized her claim to leadership through both her late husband's legacy and through her new partnership with his chosen heir. Second, she secured the support of Zheng Yi's powerful nephews Qing, Pao Yang, and Qing Shi. With the family's backing, any potential rivals would think twice about challenging her authority. Third, and most importantly, she met individually with every fleet captain loyal to her late husband. She listened to their concerns, she offered incentives, she made promises, she kept them. Within months, she had transformed from the widow into the commander. By early 1808, Zheng Yi Sao had achieved the impossible. She was the undisputed leader of the most powerful pirate confederation in history. She personally commanded the Red Flag Fleet, 300 junks and between 20,000 and 40,000 pirates, and she maintained control over the other 5 color-coded squadrons as well. But commanding is one thing. Commanding effectively is something else entirely. The Pirate Code. Zheng Yi Sao understood something fundamental. You cannot rule chaos with chaos. To control 80,000 pirates, she needed order. So she created something unprecedented. It's a strict code of conduct that every pirate under her command had to follow. And this code was brutal. Listen to these rules. Rule 1. Only Zheng Yi Sao could authorize an attack. No freelancing. No rogue operations. Every raid required her explicit permission. Rule 2. All plunder was registered and distributed according to a strict system. Stolen goods went into a common fund. The group received 20% for general expenses. The rest was distributed proportionally. Those who led boarding parties got larger shares. Rule 3. Stealing from the common fund or from allied villages was punishable by death. Western captives reported seeing pirates who violated this rule beheaded immediately, quartered, or flogged. Rule 4. Disobeying orders or giving unauthorized commands meant instant decapitation. Rule 5. Desertion was punished by having your ears cut off if you were caught on your first attempt. Second attempts meant death. Rule 6. The treatment of female captives was strictly regulated. Rape was punishable by beheading. If a pirate wanted to marry a female prisoner, he needed permission and had to be faithful to her. Violation meant death. Rule 7. Missing work without requesting leave. Ear removal for suspected abandonment. This wasn't just tough. This was military-grade discipline. And it worked. The Western captives who witnessed these punishments reported that enforcement was incredibly swift and efficient. Pirates lived in absolute fear of breaking the code because they knew Zheng Yi Sao would not hesitate to execute the rules. But the code wasn't just about punishment. It was about profit. Zheng Yi Sao instituted a tax system on all goods captured. She created reserve funds. She even issued official passports that ships could purchase for safe passage through pirate-controlled waters. Think about that. She created a protection racket so sophisticated that it functioned like a government tax system. Villages and fishing communities that paid tribute received protection. Those that didn't, they were raided mercilessly. From 1808 to 1810, Zheng Yi Sao's fleet was unstoppable. Her pirates didn't just rob ships, they developed sophisticated tactics. They would sneak up on unsuspecting vessels, then overwhelm them with hand-to-hand combat, cannons and guns. They captured merchant vessels, military junks, and fishing boats. They raided coastal villages, took prisoners, and sold people into slavery. In July 1808, the Chinese imperial government decided enough was enough. They assembled a massive fleet and sailed to Canton to destroy the Red Flag Fleet once and for all. The result? Total defeat for the imperial forces. Zheng Yi Sao's pirates left half the Chinese navy burning in the water and captured dozens of government warships. The government tried again in July 1809, same result. Another devastating defeat. In September 1809, a pirate fleet under Zheng Yi Sao's command attacked Dozhao Island and killed 1,000 civilians. The message was clear. Neither the Chinese government, nor the British East India Company, nor the Portuguese could stop her. For 3 years, Zheng Yi Sao ruled the South China Sea absolutely. Her fleet was never defeated in battle at once. She had more ships and men than most nations' navies. Blackbeard, the most famous pirate in Western history, commanded 4 ships and 300 men. Zheng Yi Sao commanded 1,800 ships and 80,000 pirates. Let that sink in. We celebrate male pirates who controlled a handful of vessels. This woman commanded an armada larger than most national militaries. By 1810, the Chinese government faced a crisis. They'd thrown everything at the Pirate Confederation, their entire navy. Alliances with European powers, massive financial resources, nothing worked. Zheng Yi Sao was simply too powerful, too well-organized, too strategically brilliant to defeat. So they did something remarkable. They decided to buy her out. The Qing imperial government offered amnesty to any pirates willing to surrender. But here's where Zheng Yi Sao's genius truly shines. She didn't just accept the pardon, she negotiated the terms. Most pirates who surrendered had to give up everything. Zheng Yi Sao walked away with the deal of the century. The terms she secured were extraordinary. First, she and Cheng Po Sai would receive full pardons, no prosecution, no prison time, complete freedom. Second, she got to keep all the wealth she'd accumulated from piracy. Think about that. 3 years of plundering the entire South China Sea, and the government let her keep everything. Third, her entire army of 17,000 pirates who surrendered with her received pardons. They only had to surrender their weapons in exchange for freedom. Many were even allowed to join the Chinese Navy or Imperial Army. Fourth, she retained 24 ships and over 1,400 pirates who chose to remain loyal to her. Fifth, Cheng Po Sai was given the rank of lieutenant in the Chinese Navy with command of a 20-junk fleet. The government literally gave the former pirate a military position. But wait, there's more. Zheng Yi Sao and Cheng Po Sai wanted to marry. Remember, he was technically her adopted son through her marriage to Zheng Yi. So they petitioned the governor of Guangdong, Zheng Bailing, to dissolve their mother-son relationship and allow them to wed. The governor agreed. And not only that, he personally witnessed their marriage ceremony. Can you imagine? The Chinese government had spent years and countless resources trying to destroy this woman. They'd lost hundreds of ships and thousands of men. And in the end, they not only pardoned her, but attended her wedding and legitimized her new marriage. It was April 1810. Zheng Yi Sao walked away from piracy on her own terms, having never lost a battle. Keeping all her wealth and securing freedom for thousands of her followers, it was perhaps the most successful retirement in the history of piracy. So what does a pirate queen do after conquering the South China Sea? Zheng Yi Sao and Cheng Po Sai settled in Canton and later Fujian. They had 2 more children together, a son in 1813 and a daughter. Eventually, they returned to Canton, where Zheng Yi Sao set up shop running a large and successful smuggling operation. Fronted by a gambling house and brothel, think about the symmetry there. She started her life in a brothel, and she ended her career owning one, but this time as the boss, not the worker. She'd come full circle, but on entirely different terms. She stayed involved in politics, maintaining connections with powerful figures. She lived comfortably, prosperously, and most importantly, freely. No prison cell, no execution, no tragic end. Zheng Yi Sao died in 1844 at the age of 69 of natural causes in her own bed. She had outlived her enemies, her rivals, and most of her contemporaries. She'd gone from poverty to power, from marginalization to mastery, and she'd done it all without ever surrendering to anyone, not even in surrender. Why don't we know her name? Here's the question that should haunt us. Why isn't Zheng Yi Sao a household name? When we think of pirates, we think of Blackbeard, Captain Kidd, Henry Morgan, Calico Jack. We think of eye patches and parrots and buried treasure tropes that come largely from Western pirate stories. But none of those famous pirates commanded a fleet a fraction the size of Zheng Yi Sao's. None of them ruled as long. None of them walked away free with their fortunes intact. By any objective measure, Zheng Yi Sao was the most successful pirate in human history. And yet, until recently, she was barely a footnote in history books. Why? Geography. Her story took place in China, in the South China Sea. Western historians writing pirate history focused on the Caribbean, on European pirates, on stories closer to home. Gender. History has always been more comfortable celebrating male outlaws than female ones. Even now, we romanticize Blackbeard while forgetting that he was a brutal terrorist. But a woman who commanded 80,000 pirates? It challenges too many narratives about women's proper place. Cultural bias. For a long time, even in China, Zheng Yi Sao's story was downplayed or ignored. The Qing dynasty wasn't eager to celebrate how thoroughly a former prostitute had humiliated their navy. And in Chinese patriarchal society, a woman who took power, who refused traditional roles, who married her adopted son, she was complicated, controversial, uncomfortable. Even her name reflects this erasure. Most sources know her as Zheng Yi Sao, literally wife of Zheng Yi. Even in a historical record, she's defined by her relationship to a man. Her birth name, Shi Yang, is rarely used. Qingxi is a mixture of corrupted Cantonese and old Romanization. Zheng Yi Sao is another variation. She has so many names because nobody could agree on who she was, or perhaps because nobody wanted to acknowledge the full scope of what she accomplished. But here's the beautiful thing. Zheng Yi Sao's legend is experiencing a renaissance. In 2007, Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End featured Mistress Qing, one of the 9 pirate lords, inspired by Zheng Yi Sao. It was a small nod, a brief appearance. But it introduced millions of viewers to the idea that not all pirate legends are Western or male. In 2015, the Hong Kong television drama Captain of Destiny featured a character based on her. In 2020, Angela Eider, a professional climber, named a difficult mountain route in Austria Madame Qing in her honor. In 2022, she appeared in an episode of Doctor Who, the first Doctor Who episode set in China since 1964, directed by the show's first director of East Asian descent. Female web novelists in China have been reimagining her story, creating works in the Nusen genre that focus on matriarchal power dynamics. The musical Asian Pirate musical celebrates her as a queer icon and symbol of resistance. Rita Chang Peg's 2023 novel, Deep as the Sky, Red as the Sea, offers a fictionalized biography. Larry Fane's The Flowerboat Girl from 2021 tells her story with meticulous historical research. Even in science fiction, she's being honored. The novel Mickey 7 by Edward Ashtonwich has been adapted into a film directed by Bong Joon-ho and released in 2025. Names humanity's first interstellar colonial ship, the Qingxi. Why? Because Zheng Yi Sao represents something powerful, the possibility of transformation, of taking control of your own narrative, of refusing to accept the limitations society places on you. Zheng Yi Sao's story resonates today because it challenges everything we think we know about power, gender, and success. She started with nothing. Worse than nothing, actually. Born into poverty, forced into sex work as a child, she had every disadvantage imaginable. Yet, through intelligence, strategic thinking, and sheer force of will, she rose to command the largest pirate fleet in history. She succeeded in a male-dominated world without disguising herself as a man. Unlike Anne Bonny or Mary Read, who disguised themselves as men for acceptance, Zheng Yi Sao commanded respect while being openly, obviously female. She wasn't trying to be one of the boys, she was trying to be the boss, and she succeeded. She understood that real power comes from organization, discipline, and strategic thinking, not just from violence. Her pirate code, her tax system, her protection racket, her careful cultivation of alliances, these weren't just military tactics, they were governance. Perhaps most importantly, she knew when to quit. So many historical figures, pirates, conquerors, revolutionaries meet tragic ends because they don't know when to stop. They get captured, executed, betrayed. Zheng Yi Sao negotiated the exit of the century and lived to old age in comfort and freedom. So, let's return to where we started. That trap set by the combined Chinese, British, and Portuguese forces in 1808. When those imperial commanders planned their attack, they thought they were dealing with common pirates, criminals, outlaws, rabble. What they didn't understand was that they were facing something unprecedented. A former prostitute who had transformed herself into one of history's greatest military commanders. She was a woman who negotiated her own marriage terms, who seized power after her husband's death, who commanded an armada that dwarfed any pirate fleet before or since, who defeated every military force that challenged her, and who walked away from it all on her own terms, wealthy and free. Zheng Yi Sao, Qing Shi Yang, whatever name you call her, she was the greatest pirate who ever lived. And for too long, history forgot her, but we're remembering now. We're reclaiming her story. We're recognizing that pirate history isn't just about Caribbean buccaneers with rum and parrots. It's about a Chinese woman who proved that power, intelligence, and strategic brilliance aren't limited by gender, class, or background. Her story asks us uncomfortable questions. How many other brilliant women has history forgotten? How many stories have we lost because they didn't fit our narratives? How many legends are waiting to be rediscovered? Zheng Yi Sao commanded 1,800 ships and 80,000 pirates. She ruled the South China Sea for 3 years without a single defeat. She negotiated the deal of the century and lived to be 69 years old. Remember her name? Because this is one legend history won't forget again. If you enjoyed this journey into the life of Zheng Yi Sao, the greatest pirate who ever lived, be sure to like this video, share it with others. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Whispered Chronicles, Echoes of Forgotten Lore. There are so many more forgotten legends waiting to rise from the depths. If this story stirred your curiosity, please like, subscribe, and share it with those who love the hidden corners of history. Let me know in the comments whose forgotten tale you want whispered next. Until next time, keep questioning, keep wandering, and as always, stay safe.